Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's Zoom meeting on the microgrants for food security. We're going to be starting now and letting you guys know that this session will be recorded and it will be available for viewing later on. So if you would like to view the Zoom meeting again or have anyone or know of anyone who's interested in watching the Zoom again, the Zoom link will be posted on our department website. And also, yeah, so we'll just get started. We're going to be hearing from Sharon Hurd, our branch manager, also Karen Sir and Yukashi Smith, the economic development specialists, and also Marcy Klingen, our division secretary. If you have any questions throughout the Zoom, you can go ahead and type it in the chat. And we're going to try and answer the questions throughout the presentation. And also we're going to have a Q&A at the end. So you would want to wait for the Q&A if your questions don't get answered throughout the presentation. And yeah, really important for everyone to mute their microphones, please. It will be much easier for the recording process that way. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it to Sharon Hurd. Oh, sorry.
Are you recording now?
Yes, I'm recording. I'm going to go ahead and begin the presentation. So I'm going to screen share. 1 second. I'm going to turn it over to Sharon Hurd. She's going to be talking about our agenda.
Like the Saturday Night Live, I'm switching over. And good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Sharon Hurd. I'm the branch manager and doing the opening basically to introduce our team, which Andrew was nice enough to do. Today, our agenda is going to be starting with Marcy Smith, who's talking to us about compliance, very important. Then we're going on to Karen Sir. Somebody's not muted. Matthew Horn, if you can mute. Thank you. And then we go on to Yukashi. Yukashi's piece will be on the forms. Forms are this time when we have this grant, folks, we are not going to accept incomplete applications. So please pay attention to the forms that Yukashi will be referring to. And then I'll go over the project template box by box so that what we like to say is we're taking the mystery out of the application process, and then Andrew will close this out. Okay, so here we go with Marcy.
Marcy, you can go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Marcy Klingen. I'm the secretary for the Agricultural Development Division. And I am the person that will be compiling your contract documents and routing them for review and signatures. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, first off, solicitations. All grant opportunities that are currently open are listed on the State Procurement Office website. This is a public website that anyone can visit, and the link is shown here on the slide. When you get to the website, you'll see a search box. And in that search box, you'll type in agriculture. All agriculture related grants are listed here. And then you'll find the open solicitation named the Microgrants for Food Security Program, MGFSP, and the RFP number is 2102 MDB. So when you see this, you'll click on the link, and here you'll find the solicitation information along with the offered due date and time, the application template, and any other important documents that you'll need to look over. Next slide, please.
We sit on the same side.
So in applying for the grant, all proposal submissions should be sent to this specific email address. It's HDOA.addrfp@hawaii.gov. Submissions sent to any other email addresses, like to Sharon or to me, will not be accepted or reviewed. And any submission received after the due date and time will also not be accepted or reviewed as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so being compliant on the Hawaii Compliance Express is very important. You'll need to be compliant at the time of review and award, which is usually about a week after the RFP due date. Proposals will not be awarded if your status is not compliant or expired on the website. Excuse me. And also please keep in mind, if you're applying as an individual, you'll also need to be registered as an individual as well. If your proposal gets awarded and funded, it's important to be compliant throughout the whole contract process. Your first payment and final payments require compliance as well. So it's very important to be compliant and to stay compliant. Next slide, please.
So fast. Oh, this crap.
Again, if you guys have your microphone on, could you please mute yourself? I see about 3 people who have their microphones on still.
Now send them to us.
And so another important requirement is to have proper insurance coverages. If your proposal gets awarded, the state of Hawaii requires each contractor to procure and maintain insurance coverage throughout the term of the contract. This includes automobile liability covering owned, non-owned, leased, and hired vehicles with a minimum of $1 million for bodily injury for each person, $1 million for bodily injury for each accident, and $1 million for property damage for each accident as well. Okay, next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you go back again? Thank you. Okay. If you're unsure if your insurance coverage meets these requirements, please have your insurance agent review the requirements that will be sent to you upon notice of award. And also, if you have any questions, please let me know. And again, this insurance requirement is only needed for proposals that are awarded. So don't worry about this until you're actually awarded. Next slide, please. Okay, creating the contracts. After we review all the eligible proposals, the awarded proposals are posted on the HANDS website, which again, you will see on the screen. And the funded and unfunded letters are sent out in the mail. So with the funded letters, there are a list of required information and documents that you'll need to submit to us. Some of it is your legal address, your W-9 and sample invoice, and your copy of certificate of insurance. And also for the W-9 and sample invoice, please be sure the name and address that's listed on your W-9 and invoice, they need to be exactly the same on each. And so finally, the contract processing begins with reviews from Fiscal Office, our Attorney General, our Department of Ag Chairperson, and the Department of Accounting and General Services. Next slide, please. This is the time when the contractor's electronic signatures are needed. The draft contract is sent to the signing authority via the e-sign program. Then the contract gets its final review and the contract is sent for final processing. It'll take about a couple weeks for the contract to be returned with a contract number, so it does take some time. And then your copy of the contract will be sent to the contractor. And this is the time where your first invoice can be submitted for payment, along with a copy of your compliance certificate from the Hawaii Compliance Express website. So your contract creation process, it can take about a month from start to finish, depending how quickly the reviews and signatures take. So it's a really good idea to get your contract signed quickly, just to speed up the process to get your contract certified and encumbered. And That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. Now we will be hearing from Economic Development Specialist Karen Sir. Oh, Karen, your mic, please.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Andrew, Marcy, and Sharon. Good morning, everyone. So this is rather exciting. The state of Hawaii has been awarded $1.9 million by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA, to provide grants to increase the quality and the quantity of locally grown foods in food insecure communities, which import a significant quantity of food, of course, like Hawaii. So as Governor Ige says, the grant program is intended to support small scale farming, ranching, agricultural operations, and the goal is to increase food production in the individual areas, and especially in remote areas where there is greater need, so that Hawaii's agriculture and entire communities will be strengthened. Next slide, please. And so basically, though, the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, or HDOA, basically applied for the Microgrants for Food Security Program way back in August of 2020. And the total award was over $1.9 million. This grant program is not associated with the CARES Act. It was established under the 2018 Farm Bill. And again, to provide support for small scale gardening, herding, livestock operations to help produce food in food insecure areas. Now, and how did we apply for the grant? Basically, HDOA used the data from the state's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP program, to demonstrate the need in each county. And so the total grant amount is going to be distributed accordingly to each county, and a panel in each specific county will be appointed to review and approve the eligible proposals from that county. Next slide, please. And so we'll share you the grant allocations per county. So you'll see on the yellow-orange column, it has the county name like Oahu, Kauai, Hawaii, Maui, and the total. The next column will share the percentage of SNAP applicant approvals in total. So you'll see Oahu has 57% of the SNAP recipients, Kauai 7%, Hawaii 23%, and Maui 13%. And then the corresponding allocation in dollar value figures in the next column. And just as a point of reference, in the 2017 Census for Agriculture, the number of farms that were existing per county. Now you'll notice at the bottom of the allocation column, there's an asterisk, and the amount does not look like it equals to $1.9 million. And that is because there is a 3% grant administration and 3% indirect costs associated to the grant total award. Next slide, please. Eligibility. So I know that there were some questions in the chat about eligibility, so we'll elaborate a little bit more here. Individuals, that would be typically farmers, ranchers, producers, home gardeners, or hunters may apply for a maximum of $5,000. Now, if you're an organization, say a religious organization, a food bank, food pantry, or a federally funded institution of learning, then organizations may apply for a maximum of $10,000 and must provide a 10% cash match. Next slide, please.
Yeah, you'd have to have been already incorporated.
And just as a reminder, if you have not muted your phone, please mute your phone. I see iPhone 2, Awahoshi. Please mute. Thank you. So some examples of activities which may be funded include small scale gardening. So that would be like, say, the purchase of tools, equipment, soil, seeds, plants, equipment related to refrigeration, canning, or composting of your crop or your whatever you've planted, or even towers, items to support a hydroponic or aeroponic farming system as well. Next slide, please. And other examples for small scale herding and livestock operations might include the actual purchase of animals, or the supplies that you need to actually erect or repair fencing for livestock. And in addition, there might be some activities or supplies that are needed to help set up or equip a slaughter or processing facility, such as the purchase of a mobile slaughterhouse. Next slide, please. And finally, an activity that would expand access to food or knowledge of food security might include the creation or expansion of avenues for the sale of those food commodities that are produced, including paying for the shipment of purchased items that are related to growing or raising food for that local community consumption. Next slide, please. And again, as mentioned earlier, the webinar will also be posted, as well as the recording of this, to help on our website to help guide interested parties through that application process. And definitely please continue to type in your questions into the chat that we can go over at the end. And Andrew is definitely monitoring all those questions. So thank you for joining us today. And I'm now going to turn it over to Yukashi Smith.
Thank you, Karen. Hi, everybody. I'm Yukashi Smith. In my part, I'm going to talk about application, the required forms to submit. So those applications, all the forms can be found in the HANDS SPO website that Marcy explained to you earlier. So everything, all the forms can be found, and I hope you can download everything and you don't miss anything. Also, the list of these forms can be found in the RFP page 7 under the application procedures and requirements. So those forms are listed on the RFP as well. So for individuals, there are 3 forms required to submit. The first one, the most important one, is microgrant for food security, the project template. This is the most important one, and it includes objectives, work plan, and outcomes, and everything you have to put. And then evaluation panel is gonna look at and score based on your proposal here. So it's very important. Therefore, Sharon Hart is gonna go over on how to fill out this application after my presentation. The second one is Exhibit A, contact and title page, including county of residence. So this is basically what is your title of the project and what is your contact information. But very importantly, you have to circle one county where you reside. So because this funding is allocated based on the county you live. And Exhibit C, endorsement statement. This is basically you read everything and you agree with the terms and conditions of the RFP. So you have to have a signature by electronically or by hand and date. That's the 3 forms you really need. But I also added here Hawaii Compliance Express Certificate. This is not due at the time of application, but due upon the award, which will take place probably 2 weeks later of the deadline submission of the proposal. So when we score and we decided your proposal to get award, but if you are not compliant at HCE at that time, we're gonna go to the next project. So don't wait, I would say don't wait until the last minute. So please go to the HCE website and register as individual or organization if you apply as an organization. And then make sure you don't owe anything to the government. So that's what we are gonna look at. And also I have to point out, if you plan to delay in tax filing, which is due on April 15, I encourage you to rethink about it, because if you file extension, you may not get certificate of the compliance, because our deadline of the submission of the proposal is April 23rd. So the timing is crucial. So just think about it. And in addition to those 3 documents, if you applied as 2 or more entities for the same project, you are going to need additional form called Form A, which is going to identify who the project leaders and who are on the same project. And you're going to apply as an organization. In addition to those 3 forms, you are going to need a match verification letter, so that as an organization, you are required to contribute 10% of the cash match to the project. So we are going to need that letter. So those are the required forms to submit. And again, it's going to be listed. These are listed on your RFP page 7. And most importantly, incomplete application will not be reviewed. So please follow this list of the application and make sure you apply. And don't wait until the very last minute of the deadline of the submission, which is going to be 12 noon on the April 23rd. So don't wait until 11:50 or anything, because we are not going to review after 12 p.m. on that day. Okay, so this is my presentation. Thank you. Andrew, go back to you.
Thank you, Yukashi. So right now we're going to take a pause to answer some questions in the chat. Hold on as I look at some. Again, please mute your microphones if you haven't done so. Thank you. First question is, does a person applying as individual need a business license? Does anyone want to take that?
I think any of us could handle that question, but no, in fact, businesses are not eligible. Businesses, nonprofits that weren't listed, only individuals. And I think the reason is that businesses, nonprofits get a lot, you have opportunity for a lot of grants. And this particular one is for individuals, which we don't often see. So no, and a person applying as an individual only needs to be compliant as an individual. You don't need a DUNS number. You don't need anything but to be compliant with your taxes. Marcy, you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, next question.
I think this is misspelled, but it's are sustenance projects okay rather than production for sale?
Everybody's nodding their head. Yes, it really depends on what your proposal is, but subsistence production is actually what the purpose of the grant is to increase the quality of locally grown food. Now, production for sale, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that the focus is on increasing the quantity and quality of locally grown food. If you are so successful, your time that you have a grant or however long your grant is, that you make enough, you produce enough food that you can sell, you just have to report that, because the income that you make during the time of the grant, you have to reinvest into the program. That's the only stipulation. So subsistence projects, of course, that's the purpose of the grant. And as far as production for sale, that's fine. The next question on there was insurance for individual. Marcy, does an individual need insurance?
Yes, so everybody will need insurance, and it is required.
And that is only if you have an award. Now, we have gone back and forth with our risk management agency, on and on and on. But the answer from the risk management agency, whose job is to protect the state from litigation, their answer is, you don't have to have this insurance, Department of Agriculture. You can let your contractors go without insurance. But if something happens, the Department of Agriculture becomes liable for any of the litigation or any of the settlements. So, you know, we did what we did the prudent thing. We said, okay, we will require the insurance for any entity that we do contracting with, if you get a contract.
Okay. Is Hawaii Compliance Express for individuals or only businesses?
Both.
Can you include costs for insurance in the funding request?
You know, that is a very good question. The answer is, if you're an organization, organizations can take what they call indirect costs, and you can you know, add that into the indirect costs. Individuals, we just found out. Somebody, could you please mute your microphone? In the recording session, your feedback was very prominent. So, where was I?
About the
I forgot already.
Adding costs of insurance.
Oh, yes,
Indirect costs,
10%.
Thank you, Karen. So if you're an organization and you apply, you have indirect costs that you can take. If you're an individual, no. That is a cost of, yeah, in your case, it would be the cost of getting the grant.
Okay. Will individuals need to submit a W-9 and sample invoice? Marcy?
Unmute.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so everyone will need to submit a W-9 and sample invoice. This is required so we can create a vendor code for you. And this is if you are awarded, if your proposal is awarded. So this is so we can create a vendor code for you guys. And this is so we can cut the check. The check will be made out to whatever is listed on the W-9 and sample invoice. So again, be sure that both documents reflect the same information. And so yes, it is required.
You know, this might be a good time to mention why we need that, because the funds that you get upon award is considered income. So you will be getting a 1099. It is added to the income that you will be earning for that calendar year. Two more points about compliance. And it's a good thing to become compliant because this grant, Microgrants, is on the Farm Bill for fiscal 21 and fiscal 22, and it will be offered in these next 2 fiscal years. So if you're compliant now, you'll get an opportunity to renew your compliance as long as you are compliant, and then be eligible for the next 2 cycles and beyond if it makes the fiscal, the 2022 Farm Bill. So compliance is important. The federal government, I'll take this moment to say that the federal government is funded by taxpayers. And so if we want to be good stewards of taxpayer money and we want to give money away, we should be sure we're giving the money to awarding the funds to responsible taxpayers. And that's the logic behind the whole compliance thing. And the other thing is, if you apply for other grants, compliance is basic. It's the first step in getting public funds. So once you become compliant, it like opens the door to grants.gov. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So please try to become compliant as soon as you can.
Okay, we'll answer a couple more and then we'll continue on with the presentation. So are LLCs eligible to apply?
No, only the businesses are not eligible. Organizations are 3: religious organizations, food banks, and food pantries. Public schools, publicly funded, federally funded institutions of higher learning. Businesses, LLCs are not eligible, but you can always apply as an individual.
Next question. Could we elaborate on insurance for individual applicants, and if the project will not be using automobile, is it still necessary to prove automobile insurance?
I see.
Yes, so again, the insurance is required, and we do have like an umbrella coverage, which I guess I can, if you need an example of that, I can provide that for you. You can just email one of us and then we can provide that to you. But there are other ways to get the required, to meet the requirements. So I can elaborate on that with you later. Just contact them. Just contact me.
Okay, thank you, Marcy. Now we're gonna be continuing on with the presentation. I'm gonna share my screen one more time.
But to better see what's going on, what's causing that, we would want to check out there. Yes.
Okay. Again, could someone unmuted please mute your microphone, please? Thank you very much.
All right, you've been really helpful and you know more now than we did an hour ago. So thank you very much for your help.
All right. So I'm gonna turn it over to Sharon.
Okay, hi everybody. So my part is to go over the project template and basically make it comfortable for everybody to know that they can apply, how to apply. So this is important, so we're going to repeat it again. The purpose of the microgrants for food security program is to increase the quantity and quality of locally grown food in food insecure communities that import a significant quantity of food. So that is pretty much everybody in the state of Hawaii, because we import a significant amount of food. Okay, so the funds from this grant can be used to engage in activities that will increase the quantity and quality of locally grown food for food insecure individuals, families, neighborhoods, and communities. Refer to Appendix F. Yukashi referred to Appendix F. Karen went over some of the items in Appendix F. It's on our website. That lists everything you can do with the funds. Okay, so priority will be given to individuals for this grant cycle. And again, the reason for that is we want to help as many people as we can to start growing their own food. And individuals seems to be the good place to start. Okay, everybody have their project template out? Yay for you. If not, then this is the beginning part of the project template. The project title, I just want you to know, you don't have to fill in all of the parts, right? You know, from your project title, duration of project. You can think of your project title, and as you go through your project, you can say, oh, you know what? I want to change my title, and that's fine, okay? But 15 words or less is good. Duration of the project, it has to be 12 months. Starts after, on or before, you know, July 5th. July is about when we think the funding will be available, July of this year. So if you start in July, I think it's a safe place to start. Your project can go as long, maximum of 12 months. And that's maximum award of $5,000. If your project is a project that you can get done in 6 months, that's fine. Your maximum is $2,500. So the time of performance is linked to the maximum amount of the award. It's kind of prorated. Okay, so you can start in July or before July. Some people have to start planning in the spring, right? As much as we like to think Hawaii is an endless summer, there are seasons. So if your opportunity is in the spring and you want to start in the spring, you can start in the spring. It's just that if you don't get an award, then everything you've done financially is not covered, okay? But so July is about when we expect the funding to be available, end date 12 months later. Here's the part we've all been talking about, eligible entity type. Individual or Native Hawaiian, local or tribal government, nonprofit has to be one of those three, federally funded education facility. Okay, so the forms, if you're 2 or more individuals, Form A is required. So this grant was offered to Alaska, Hawaii, and the territories. So Alaska had the question, how come 4-H is not on there? I mean, 4-H and Hawaii FFA, they're like, you know, they're the future. And the answer was that one of these federally funded educational facilities can sponsor the FFA or the 4-H. But as the 4-H or FFA, they cannot apply because they don't qualify. Okay, so project partner in summary. This is important to know that if your proposal gets funded, this section will be posted on the USD website because, as you know, anything that's federally funded is publicly available. So try to summarize it as to the nature of what your project is about. You can always, change it after your proposal is on its way, but just know that this part is very important. And who's your partner? So if your partner is a fencing company, you can mention that, you're working with this fencing company. And if you do, maybe a letter of support from them, something to give your proposal some credibility. But this part will be published. That's the point. Okay, now I would like you to start your proposal with a purpose. Start with a purpose. You're walking around your backyard and you say, boy, it would be great if I could grow more fill in the blank fruits, vegetables, so we could have more fresher and more nutritious food. Or you could say, you're looking at your yard and you say, gee, if my yard was fenced in, I could raise, fill in the blank, chickens, pigs, goats. As you're thinking about what the purpose of your project will be, you can say, hey, if I could actually grow more food if my backyard had, and again, fill in the blank, more soil, more grading, more drip irrigation. That's your purpose. What you are is you're building the purpose of your project. And certainly, if I need proper gardening tools, and I need a compost bin, and I need a storage shed so I can start a home garden, these are all working, mashing your thinking process for your purpose. Then let's flip over to your objective. Those of us that review objectives are kind of stunned when we get a proposal that has 7 objectives, because it's a lot. That's really a lot. So make your objectives concise. Your objective can be provide my family a dozen eggs a week. Okay, that's your objective. Plant fruit trees. That's an objective. Increase the varieties or pounds of vegetables harvested from my backyard. It's another objective. We encourage 1 or 2 objectives, but here, you can have, if you really have more than 2 objectives, go for it, but these are basically the idea of that section, which is very important. The evaluation panel will look at your project purpose, and they'll evaluate the rest of your proposal based on what your purpose is. Does the rest of your proposal support your purpose? Okay, so once you've decided on the project purpose, you choose either outcome 1 or outcome 2 and the associated indicator. Again, I put it in bold because this is what the USDA told us. You must choose at least 1 of these outcomes and indicators. Okay, changes to outcome 1 and outcome 2 and the indicators are not allowed. You have to choose either 1 or 2. Okay, so outcome 1, you estimate the number of beneficiaries that will benefit the project, and you choose at least 1 indicator to support that outcome. This one really is more appropriate for an individual, I think. An individual would choose outcome 1 because it asks you to name, estimate the number of beneficiaries, and then you choose 1 of the other outcomes. Outcome 2, now this one is more suited for organizations, or it's more suited for 2 or more entities working together on the same project. It's a similar process in that you will again choose the applicable indicator to support the outcome. Okay, so either 1 or 2, or you can choose both if they apply. Okay, now think about this. If you choose outcome 1, does it support your purpose? So if your purpose was to provide a dozen eggs a week for your family, does this outcome support that? Okay, so think about that, because the purpose, your outcomes indicators have to support your purpose and your objective. Okay, so to help the evaluation panel, and frankly, to help you complete your application, we have added options, outcome 3 and outcome 4, and an associated indicator. These outcomes describe the project with more detail that is important to preparing the timeline and budget for the project. Changes to these outcomes and indicators are allowed. So outcome 3 says, provide the resources to increase the quantity and quality of locally grown food. So the first indicator is choose 1 of the items from Appendix F, which says, I am going to do this with my money. Appendix F has quite a few items. Or you can choose item 3B, number of measurable items, units, animals, fish, seed crops, seeds, feet of fencing. That will be your measure, that will be your indicator that you have met outcome 3, that you have been able to that you have been provided the resources to increase. And outcome 4 is, this one is again more suited for an organization or 2 or more entities working on the same project. You don't have to choose outcome 3 or outcome 4. You do have to choose one from either outcome 1 or 2, but outcome 3 and outcome 4, I believe, helps you decide what your project is. It gives you direction, and it helps the evaluation panel, understand what you want to do with the funding. Okay, data collection. I think I made it big, a bigger, bolder font, because I'd say in 50% of all the proposals we submit to the USDA, the response back is the data collection is weak. Ask your applicant to beef up their data collection. And so I'm making a big deal out of here because it is a big deal. So describe how you will collect the data to support whether your indicator number was achieved. Okay, so you list what the outcome and indicator is, and then you tell us how are you going to be sure that whether you met that, you achieved your goal. I want to say it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you don't. If you say I'm going to provide 12 eggs, a dozen eggs a week, and how are you going to collect that data? And if you're not able to because you had something happened and your chickens didn't produce, or there was a rainstorm and you have to rebuild your coop, it's okay. We just want to know how you're going to collect your data. Okay. And also, this section provides the information you're going to need for your final report. So the more detail you have here, the easier it will be for you to complete your final report. You just go back to your data and boom, you got it. So, and this is important. As you're doing your collection of data, you might say to yourself, hey, I'm going to need a scale to weigh the amount of vegetables I harvest. Wait a minute, I'm going to need a tablet because I need to take photos of my progress, and I need my tablet to record the data that I'm collecting. Or you can say, I need some tool, so I need to collect my data. You got to add that into the budget. Remember to add that into the budget because that's an important item. Okay. Next thing on your list, on your project template, is the timeline, action, and work plan. You show your outcome in the indicator on the timeline, and you show us the timeline and how you expect to achieve it. This helps your planning and helps us monitor your progress. If your project needs more time to be completed, everybody will know. We'll know, you'll know, and we can do an extension, or we can change your action plan. We can make it revisions. Marcy's sitting there, but she knows that if you have a revision, we have to adjust your contract. We call it a contract, and it requires a supplemental contract. It's a lot of work, but it's going to be necessary if your action plan doesn't quite fit your timeline. Okay, so it helps both you and as the applicant and us as the evaluator know. And one of us, either Yukashi or Karen or myself, will be administering your contract. So it gives us an idea of where you are in your contract. Okay, take photos or collect data as part of your work plan. You'll see under the month column, it says in month 3, I'm going to take a picture of how my vegetables are progressing. We want to know because we're going to ask you, hey, send us the picture of where you are now. And if you need a tablet, like I said, add it in to your budget. Okay, the budget should mirror where the action plan and timeline and expenditures are. By that we mean, if you're going to build a chicken coop, and that's going to cost you $1,000, that should be in your budget right there under that outcome and that indicator. If you're going to fence in your yard because you're getting terrorized by pigs, that should be in your budget right there. Okay, and again, this section, the project timeline, action, and work plan, will help you complete your final report, which, by the way, there's a template on the state procurement website that says final report. So you can take a look at what it is. It's quite simple as final reports go, but you can get an idea of the information that the USD is going to ask for, and we will ask for at the end of your project. Okay, now your project is ready for your budget. How am I on time? Oh, good. Okay, so this is my way of telling you, don't start with the budget. Okay, if you say to yourself, "Ooh, $5,000, I'm going to ask for $5,000," and then you figure out how you're going to spend it, that comes out in your application. It's evident that your objective and your outcomes and your indicators are a little bit squishy if you start with your budget. Okay, so now you're ready for your budget. You've got your objective, you've got your outcome, you've got your indicator, you've got your data collection. How much is it going to cost you? Okay, so for an individual, you get a maximum of $5,000. For individuals, no indirect costs. Matching funds are not required, but of course, in-kind contributions are encouraged. So these are your categories. Personnel. So I asked the USDA, can an individual have a personnel cost? And they said yes. If they hire somebody to do the work and you consider them your employee, you can consider them personnel. But I'm going to caution you against that because there's a whole chunk of section in the rule book, 2 CFR, it's called 225. It goes on for like 3 pages about what you have to do as an employer. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to pay this, you have to pay that. So I would caution you against a personnel cost. Instead, look at the contractual section. You can hire somebody for a fee for service, fit them into contractual, and you're not obligated to consider them a personnel, which includes, by the way, like vacation time and insurance and things like that.
No, that isn't your state of Hawaii taxes.
Excuse me, is that a question? Okay, thank you. Okay, so fringe benefits, travel, equipment, supply. Oh, equipment. Let me go a little bit about equipment. Equipment over $5,000. I'm going to ask you to please go to your frequently asked questions because there's quite a detailed discussion about equipment there. The main thing you need to do is a piece of equipment that costs $5,000 or more. That's the definition of equipment. It's the cost. So if your piece of equipment costs $5,000, read the FAQs because basically you're using taxpayer money, and after the project is over, and there's a lot of discussion, it belongs to the state, okay? The taxpayers paid for it, it belongs to the taxpayers. Supplies under $5,000, you keep, that's yours. Contractual, that is a fee for services. Like if you contract somebody to come in and grade your land, that's a contract. If you contract somebody to come in and help you put up a fence, that's a contract. So those are the main categories that we get questions about. Okay, matching funds. If you're an individual and you're going to put some on it, as you might say, give yourself credit for it. I spent a weekend, 5 weekends working on this, and I consider that to be, volunteer time, $20 an hour, something like that. Put it in there. It's just going to give us an idea that you're dedicated to this project. You're committed. You're willing to put your, sweat equity in it. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about on the project template is program income. As I said earlier, program income is allowed, but if your project is for a duration of 1 year, you must take this income and reinvest it into the project if earned during the project period. This federal money is not for you to make money, it's for you to reinvest it into the project. Now, after the project is over, whatever money you gain, if you start selling the eggs that you have, that's up to you. So that is it. That's the extent of our presentation today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Andrew, that's his email. Marcy, about compliance and insurance, that's her email. Karen, all about the background of the funding. And Karen is, she can answer all questions, as can Yukashi. Yukashi has, she did the part about the forms. And of course, from myself, I can help you with the project template. However, we can all answer questions. So back to Andrew.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So again, note down our emails. If you have any questions, you go ahead and email those emails. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and then we're going to go into some questions for about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. And if we don't go through all of these questions, I'm going to be logging them, and then they'll be answered through email. And again, if you have any more questions, you can email us.
And add it to the FAQs.
Yes, and we'll add it to the FAQs, and also the recording of the Zoom will be available online as well. Okay, hold on, let me look at some questions.
I think we left off. Did you see where we left off at HCE? I think it was that the system was slow.
Yes. So I guess we'll have a question about HCE, and does anyone know registration times, if it will get back to them fast enough?
Don't know.
Okay, so I guess we advise you guys to look into compliance as soon as possible, because we're not sure how fast HCE is going to be going, especially if you have to fax paperwork out, especially during COVID times, it might be a little slower. I'm an individual who is hoping to establish a garden at an organization's place of business. Is this permissible for me to apply as an individual?
Okay, I'm going to say yes, but in your application, please include a letter of commitment from the organization that says you're allowed to do that. You know, I mean, a reviewer will look at your application and go, I wonder if this community garden plan, I mean, it's a good plan, but can they actually execute it? Does the organization know about it? So yes, you can do that.
Okay. Can the grant be used to enhance the Diamond Head Community Garden, which is run by the city of Honolulu? Or what entity would apply should I get a nonprofit fiscal sponsor for that?
That's a tough one, because even an organization who applies for that would have to be a religious organization, a food bank, or a food pantry, and it's city property. So you got a lot of things you have to figure out before the committee can say that's a project we can fund. A lot of hurdles, and so yes, perhaps the better approach would be to find a nonprofit to fund something like that, and maybe work with the city to see if it's even possible.
Okay. Is a small family farm business eligible to apply? If so, how? We are not one of the organizations listed, and we are more than one individual. I'm confused as to whether this grant is available to our small farm or not.
Okay. Businesses are not eligible. Individuals, the 3 organizations or publicly funded institutions are. So a business is not eligible, but individuals are, because we're giving priority to individuals. If you have 5 people in a family that are 18 and over, you can each apply as an individual, or you can apply as 2 or more individuals working on the same project. Just know that individuals will be given priority. We are trying to help as many individuals start to grow their own food as possible. And the other reason is this is a brand new grant. We want to get our feet wet. We want to see how we're rolling it out. Fiscal 21, fiscal 22, Alaska and Hawaii will compare notes. And maybe at that time, we're ready to extend it to organizations that want to, establish a very, very big demand for a mobile slaughterhouse. Maybe at that point we can do that. Still a lot of questions about that. So I'm confused as to whether this is available to our small farm. It is available to your small farm as individuals or as an organization to apply, religious, food bank, food pantry.
Are there designated grant award amounts per county?
Yeah, good question. That was in Karen's proposal, Karen's presentation. You can go back.
Yes, that was on the slide where it had the allocation from the SNAP. Okay, so I think it was, I guess I don't know which county you're from, but I'll just reread it. So, and the slide is going to be available on the website again. But if it were for Oahu, for example, after they applied the percentage of SNAP applications approved to the total, then it was a little over $1 million. Kauai was 127,557. Hawaii East and West was over 419,000, and Maui was over 236,000. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it did. But I wanted to add something, Karen, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So it makes sense that Oahu would have the most funding because we have the highest population. Therefore, we have the most SNAP applications. So we get a larger part of the funding. But individual applications will be funded through the counties. Any organizations will be funded, or two or more individuals' applications will be funded through the Oahu appropriation. So if you do, we did the math. Kauai, if Kauai gave only $5,000 per application, they could fund 25 applications.
It's going to be high. Oh, I like that. It's going to be recorded. You should listen to it. Yeah. The other thing is I was talking to Violet. Oh, that looks.
Okay, and Hawaii Island, if they awarded $5,000 per application, they could fund 83. Maui can do 47, and Oahu can do 207. So even by focusing on individuals with projects for a maximum of 1 year, Kauai can do 25. You know, move the needle just a little bit. Hawaii County 83, Maui 47, and Oahu 207. So hopefully, you know, but you know, for what it's worth, it makes a dent, right? This is a wonderful grant and it will help increase the quantity and quality of locally grown food. Okay.
And then just to keep in mind that everyone might not be asking for the maximum of $5,000, right? So yeah, so that's another thing to consider. That would increase the number of grants that are available. And I think part of it is why they have each county reviewing their own individual applications, because each county would know best what their county needs, if that makes sense. So thanks.
Okay. May a husband and wife file 2 applications as individuals? We have different plans. One aquaponic and other is livestock or regular orchid farm or orchard farming.
I'm sure individuals should apply, whether you're husband and wife or partners or friends, individuals. And if you put 2 applications in, or one, as 2 or more individuals working on the same project, your application will be viewed, we're going to give priority to individuals. So yes, it's better to apply as a husband and wife as individuals.
Okay. I've been seeing a lot of questions about insurance. Again, if you have any insurance questions, you can email Marcy for an example. Is there a first come, first serve situation as long as the application is complete, or will each project be reviewed and ranked for priority according to certain criteria?
The RFP goes into that, and the answer is it's scored according to the merits of your proposal, the amount, the measurable outcomes, how much it'll benefit, you know, the food insecurity status for the state. Everyone is scored, so it's not a first come, first serve is basically the answer.
Okay. Are beehives?
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Anybody else has something you want to add to that? Yukashi, Marcy, Karen? First come, first serve versus competitive? No? Okay.
Okay. Is irrigation eligible? Are beehives eligible?
Irrigation, if you look at your appendix F, you know, we refer back to the appendix. Irrigation is one of the allowable expenditures, so yes, but the irrigation has to be to increase the quantity and quality of locally grown food in food insecure communities. It shouldn't be to irrigate, you know, a business. It should be a personal look. You're going to grow more food for yourself. What was it? Bees. Yes. Again, you have to choose your purpose, your purpose, your objective, your outcome, your indicator, your data collection, and yes. Okay. Bees are, I mean, Karen is our bee point person here, and she tells us a lot of times, you know, bees are it. Without bees, we don't have food. So, yeah. Okay.
Can a project that has already been started utilize this grant?
Okay, so I'm gonna take that to mean you've already started a garden or a chicken coop or a pig, you know, you have, yes, you can. You can say, for instance, in your objective, to increase the amount of land I'm already growing my food on, or to increase the strength of my fencing, you know, to make it go from 6 feet to 10 feet, because from what I understand, axis deer can jump a huge, or to strengthen my fence because the pigs just plow through it. Yeah, you can do that, but you have to make clear, I think, what your purpose, your objective, your outcome, and your indicators are, how you're going to collect the data, and your action plan. Just make sure you know what part of your operation you're going to be taking to the next level. That's all.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions.
Oh.
Can more than one individual submit a proposal for the same property?
I think she just answered that question a few minutes ago, right? So that was a husband and wife, for example, a child over
I
the age
believe
of
the
8.
question is more geared to like more than one people, more than one person applying for the same project with Form A or.
I'm sorry.
More than one individual submitted a proposal for the same property. Well, in this case, we'd have to really look at your proposal. Yeah, that's a tough one. So the answer is yes, but we would have to read your proposal. But let's go back to that one. It says she put my name in there.
Oh. If you need 2 tanks, both costing 2,500 each, does this qualify for supply or does it turn into equipment? Also, does shipping add to the price to turn it into equipment? Example costs 4,444 shipping is 100 is 1,000. Is this now equipment or still supplies?
Okay, I'm going to refer you back to the FAQs, which we really do talk about this, but it's for each piece. So if each piece of equipment is under $5,000, it's a supply. You would have to explain why you're buying it, the supply. There's a big section for justification. Shipping is not attached to the cost of the piece of supply. Was there more to it? I think that was it,
No.
right?
Okay, so thank you.
It's 11 o'clock?
Yep, it's 11 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and log down all the other questions that were in the chat. And I will forward them and also try and get back to you through email. Also, if you have any other questions, you have our emails, so you can email any of us. Also, this Zoom meeting is going to be recorded and posted on our department website on YouTube. So you can watch the Zoom again or also forward the Zoom link to anyone else.
And the slide deck.
And the slide deck will also be on there as well. Yeah, so again, thank you everyone. And we look forward to seeing your proposals.